of all night about do we need to bring stuff upstairs or do we need to leave.
Tonight, flooding in western Washington forces tens of thousands of people to evacuate. Emergency managers call the situation potentially catastrophic.
Potentially having significant loss of life still remains in place. That is our approach to this. We're handling it as if that is the case.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. A potent atmospheric river is bringing historic rainfall to western Washington, with several rivers already overflowing and widespread flooding happening tonight. Dozens of people have been rescued. Let's show you video posted to social media today showing crews airlifting 2 people to safety in Falls City, east of Seattle, after their cars got stuck in those floodwaters. One of the drivers waited to be rescued on the roof of their flooded car. The other waited in a nearby tree. The areas of Washington experiencing flooding are spread out over more than 100 miles. Snohomish, Whatcom, Pierce, and King counties all are affected. Parts of at least 30 highways have been shut down, and there is more rain in the forecast. Many people spent the day filling up sandbags, hoping to protect their properties from the flooding, and crews were spotted constructing sand berms around some homes and businesses. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson has declared a statewide emergency, and that will allow National Guard troops to respond. 100 or so troops are expected in some of the flooded communities by late tonight. Now, tonight we are seeing some clearing in Washington, but the rain is not over. This is a live look at the conditions in downtown Seattle tonight. Fox 13's Matt Smith reports tonight from Snohomish County, northeast of Seattle, where water is hip high in some places.
All right, so basically, we're standing in the middle of what you consider a floodplain at this point in time. Typically, this is soccer fields all off in the distance, but it has all now been swallowed up by the floodwaters coming in from the Stillaguamish. Now, basically, where we're standing, just off of State Route 530, you're smack dab between the South Fork and the North Fork of the Stillaguamish. Now, I'm going to kind of walk in your direction and get out of this because this is thigh high where I am, and it gets deeper out in that direction. As we get into this shallower water, let me kind of walk you through what we've seen out here so far today. Now, the road itself, just off to the side, we've seen people attempt to cross it. Now, it is obviously not as deep as what we were just seeing, but it's still not great conditions. There's roadblock signs up for a reason, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but the reason they put those up is because there's not enough people. We are stretched way too thin when it comes to emergency responders to actually be guarding all these spots. So you've got to use your best judgment. We're not necessarily seeing that. One guy earlier was driving through there and he was like open throttle, driving as hard as he could, and he was just barely making it through. Luckily, my photographer and I, we saw the next guy come through. He had less clearance on his vehicle, and we basically explained to him, listen, last guy barely made it. He took the wiser idea and he turned around. But if you look off in the distance over here, you'll see, I'm gonna kind of walk you over State Route 530. This area in this direction is the courthouse. That's where they're going to block you off from this area because as those floodwaters keep coming up, it's going to get worse and worse. But off in the distance here, you're actually going to see fire crews have already staged themselves with a watercraft. So they're ready for rescues in that worst case scenario. So something else to keep in mind, if you're wondering how serious this is, whether or not it's going to be a concern for you, they're taking it seriously. They've got fire crews out here. They're ready for water rescues, but obviously we don't want them to have to do that. I'll tell you, yesterday I already had a chance to chat with some of the folks from Snohomish County. They said the state was helping them bring in crews from the east side of the state because they don't have enough people and they can't really turn and ask for mutual aid help from other areas because they're dealing with this exact same thing. We're all in this for the long haul, and it will only get worse before it gets better. So again, use your best judgment. For now, reporting out in Arlington, I'm Matthew Smith. We'll send it back to you.
All right, quite the scene there. In northern Washington, flood control barriers are facing a huge test tonight. Emergency managers say there are still some vulnerabilities after repairs were made back in 2021, and they are urging everyone to pay close attention to evacuation orders.
A lot of work has been done on the levees. We haven't tested those yet, so this system coming through will test the work that was done on the levees. And as that water comes down, it's going to be reaching right up to the top of the levees. We don't know what exactly will happen when those floodwaters come through.
We understand that many folks have experienced significant floods in the past and that they may feel they can ride it out. The flooding levels we're looking at are potentially historic in nature.
Emergency managers expect as many as 100,000 people will face evacuation orders before the weather clears in Washington. Now, people in Idaho are worried they may be next. Transportation officials in the northern part of that state are asking people to prepare for the possibility of flooding. They posted to social media this image of high water underneath a bridge. Officials say they are monitoring areas that are prone to flooding. For more, let's bring in KTVU's chief meteorologist, Mark Tamayo, who is tracking these storms and those rain totals. They are just incredible.
Yeah, gigantic rain totals. And as you take a look at these numbers the past 3 days, just know the higher elevations, some areas in Washington are picking up what they call the orographic lift. You get more rain, over 10, over 12, over 14 inches of rainfall in a few isolated spots. So those numbers really adding up. These are some of the storm totals over the past 3 days, as you can pick out over 1. Well, Seattle approaching 2 inches, Olympia over 3 inches, and other portions of over 4 inches of rainfall. Here's the latest on the radar. As you can see some of the coverage out there. Seattle, their most recent observation, they are reporting just some cloud cover out there, but quite a few storm reports, as you can see here. One area closest city, as you can see here, nearly 14 inches of rainfall from earlier today with that big storm total. And this was actually from yesterday, just to give you an idea of just the impacts with all of this extreme rainfall, major flooding in the Kent-Auburn area. This was actually from Wednesday morning, making it impossible for the passage of cars to travel on those roadways. Now, we still have flood watches in place until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning for this general area, for this portion of the Pacific Northwest. We have some individual flood warnings, meaning flooding is happening right now for some of these areas right now up until about 10 o'clock tonight, and we'll see if those could get extended. As we show you this, the big view in the Pacific, once again, the main action is heading up into Seattle and Portland, clearly with that strong atmospheric river setting up. Dry conditions for California down toward Phoenix, out toward Salt Lake City, and Denver will just have partly cloudy skies, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow. Rainfall projections. Now, we've been talking so much about the storm coverage. Good news, just about a 20% chance of some rainfall in Seattle for tomorrow. So they're going to get some minor accumulation, so heading in the right direction to get a break. The troubling, at least the part that could be concerning, looks like another stormy pattern could be setting up for Sunday and into early next week. So another round of possible significant rainfall into next week. This was the scene in Seattle today. Of course, we have the storm clouds, temperatures in the mid-50s this afternoon. In the San Francisco Bay Area, some hazy sunshine, lower 50s. Kind of San Francisco's kind of been stuck right around 52 degrees over the past few days. And then in Phoenix, we're showing you lots of sunshine, temperatures getting close to 80 degrees. So here is the setup for tomorrow. Some clouds up in Seattle, about a 20% chance of some lingering showers. Clearing skies for San Francisco, and sunny, nice and warm for Los Angeles, out toward Phoenix, out toward Denver. Here's the forecast model. It does show you the clouds and a few lingering showers up in Seattle. This is for your Friday morning. And then as we take this into Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, it looks like still the possibility of a few showers. As we take this into your weekend, Saturday could be okay. But then as we take this later in the weekend, that could bring in another round of some rainfall, that portion of the West Coast. So here's the forecast over the next 3 days. Seattle temperatures tomorrow in the 50s. Lots of clouds moving in, but in terms of significant rain, not in their forecast for tomorrow. It is warming up for Los Angeles, Phoenix approaching 80 degrees, and Denver will be in the lower 60s. So good news, Alex. Seattle gets somewhat of a break, or at least the Pacific Northwest, as we head into Friday and possibly Saturday. But then beyond that, we'll have to keep an eye on possibly some more rain back in their forecast.
Yeah, but a break is going to be good for them. All right, Mark, thank you. We turn now to a developing story we're following in the Bay Area. Authorities tonight are investigating a massive explosion that rocked a residential neighborhood this morning and left 6 people injured. This is a live look at the scene, the aftermath near Hayward, south of Oakland, where firefighters do remain at the scene. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama has the latest on the investigation into what caused today's blast.
Suddenly we heard a loud bang and they shook the whole house.
This doorbell camera video from Christian and Brittany Maldonado's home shows the explosion. Parts of their neighbor's house across the street blasted into the air. A shockwave that shook houses throughout the neighborhood felt as far as a mile away.
It was almost like a bomb went off, like trying to figure out what it was. There was just stuff everywhere. And then we saw the fire start, like we started to see the fire, and the wires were sparking.
When they came outside, they took this video of the fire. Fire crews say 6 people were injured. 2 were construction workers. One worker in the backhoe is seen trying to climb out before a large piece of roof crashes down on top of him. Co-workers later realize he's trapped and try to lift it off the worker. Alameda County fire crews say the explosion and fire spread across 2 properties, where 2 residents and a warehouse-type building were destroyed. 75 firefighters were called in to try and put out the fire, which was reported around 9:30. PG&E confirmed there was a report of a gas leak 2 hours before the fire and explosion.
PG&E was notified at 7:35 a.m. that a third party unaffiliated with PG&E struck an underground gas line on Llewellyn Boulevard in Hayward. PG&E immediately dispatched our crews to the scene. The flow of gas was stopped at 9:25 a.m. Shortly after, at approximately 9:35 a.m., an explosion and structure fire occurred.
When our crew showed up 2 hours prior, we did not smell gas, detect gas, or see any reason for an emergency. So we waited to speak to PG&E, and PG&E said they can handle the situation.
The fire chief said that engine was released from the scene, only to return later. When the crews returned, he said it was a hazardous situation when they first arrived because there were still live electric wires.
When they were attacking the fire, they could feel electric shocks as they're making entry into some of the homes.
Alameda County fire crews say they plan to be out here as long as it takes for the PG&E crews to complete their investigation, and the CHP and the Sheriff's Department say they plan to have this section of East Llewellyn Boulevard closed through the night. Reporting from the unincorporated section of Hayward, Jana Calciama, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
And to get some more perspective on that explosion today, we talked earlier with former FEMA coordinator and Fremont Fire Battalion Chief Mark Nouveau, who said that first responders were faced with treating some severe injuries at that scene.
The roof was lifted off and thrown across the street like it was a piece of paper in the wind. So the people that were closest were the construction folks and the people that were in the bedroom adjacent to it. And the power and the concussion, the wave that comes from that explosion is almost like being in an automobile accident. So it's not just burns from the fire, it's that heavy concussion, the flying debris, the glass, all types of different things, you know, and body isn't made to be able to withstand something like that.
Nouveau said that gas-fed fires tend to burn more intensely, and he said the crews at the scene did a good job keeping those flames from spreading to other homes. Coming up here on West Coast Wrap tonight, the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk was in court today. What his attorneys asked the judge. Plus, a rare sight on Oregon ski slopes in December. No snow in sight. See how tourists who planned for snow are now adjusting. In southern Nevada, prosecutors today announced they are seeking the death penalty for a man accused of a deadly road rage shooting near Las Vegas. Authorities say the 22-year-old suspect, Tyler Matthew Johns, shot and killed 11-year-old Brandon Dominguez Chavarria last month. That shooting happened along a freeway in Henderson, and authorities say it followed an alleged altercation between the suspect and the victim's father. Johns has previously claimed he did not know a child was in the car before firing that shot. He's expected back in court on January 8th. The man suspected of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk made his first in-person appearance in a Utah courtroom today. As Fox's Connor Hansen reports, attorneys are arguing over whether cameras should be allowed in that courtroom during his trial.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson.
Tyler Robinson appearing in court in person for the first time since he was arrested for allegedly killing Charlie Kirk. The 22-year-old suspect could be seen smiling while talking with his attorney. At a closed October hearing, the judge ruled that Robinson can appear in court in civilian clothing, but must still wear shackles. Legal experts say the amount of publicity surrounding the case makes it difficult to navigate.
This is a very politically charged case. There are very high emotions in this case, and there's also issues of tainting the jury pool.
Media outlets are pushing for the court to be more transparent.
And now they've shut that tap off.
Robinson was charged with 7 counts, including aggravated murder, which could carry the death penalty. After his arrest, investigators shared key details, saying Robinson's DNA was on the trigger of the murder weapon, revealing a text to his partner that laid out an alleged motive and messages he allegedly shared with friends on Discord. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, is pushing for cameras to be allowed in the courtroom for the entire trial.
Let everyone see what true evil is. let everyone see and know how it happened, how it even got to this point.
It could take a year or more before the actual trial begins. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem appeared today before a congressional hearing on global threats facing the U.S. Democrats grilled her over the Trump administration's immigration and deportation policies, with one even calling on her to resign. Noem claims that ICE has deported more than 200,000 criminals since President Trump returned to office. However, data published by UC Berkeley shows more than a third of those who've been deported had no criminal records.
He's got a lot of explaining to do about why she's not just going after the, quote, worst of the worst, which we all agree on. She's also been deporting and detaining U.S. citizens.
We are doing our targeted enforcement operations against criminal illegal aliens. Individuals that are in that area may be detained until we verify who they are, and then they are released.
The hearing comes as a judge is considering a potential contempt charge against Noem for possibly defying a federal judge's order on migrant flights to El Salvador. Well, even though strong storms are moving across the Pacific Northwest this week, Oregon ski resorts are not getting any snow. This is a live look at Mount Hood tonight. There has been plenty of rain and fog up on the mountain all this week, but no snow is coming down, and that means ski resorts that would normally be open at this time remain closed. Fox 12's Spencer Schott shows us how that's affecting visitors as well as businesses.
It's kind of crazy to think that we are 10 days into December and there is still no snow here on Mount Hood. At this time last year, we had a 40-inch base, but as you can see behind me, the runs are barren and the lifts are still not running. With all the ski resorts not open yet, other businesses in town, like rental shops, were also closed. But the folks who are venturing out to Mount Hood are fondly remembering last year.
December 10th last year, I was riding my snowboard at Meadows.
While there is no snow on the mountain yet, snowboarders like Lauren Gelfand are hopeful they'll be able to hit the slopes in 2025.
If I was really optimistic, I would say by the New Year's time frame, we'd get enough snow in the next couple of weeks. I think reality is more like January, the season's going to start.
But in the meantime, they're still making the best of their time on the mountain.
It's fun to be up here in the mountain regardless. We'll be at Timberline Lodge later having dinner tonight, and that's always a treat to go up there and check out the lodge.
Up at Timberline, a spokesperson for the resort said their lodge and restaurants are what's keeping them sustained until the snow comes, saying in part, "Our team is fully staffed, training is complete, and Timberline is ready to open as soon as Mother Nature gives us the green light." But this lack of snow is not just catching Oregonians off guard.
It's kind of barren right now. It's a nice little fog, a little bit mysterious vibe, but there's only a little bit of snow.
Christian and his buddies here are on a road trip from Alberta, Canada, and they were really hoping to get a few runs in before hitting the road.
I got my snowboard gear, got a ski gear. Let's just drive through and see what happens. Let's go to Mount Hood and just check it out. As we're driving up the mountain, we're noticing there's no snow.
But even without snow, they still think the trip up the mountain was worth it.
Even just the way here was beautiful, so Oregon's a very scenic state.
It's monumental to come out here, right? Especially where the exterior of the movie Shining was shot, which is kind of cool. So we got to see that. We got to say we've been here at least, you know.
We're not expecting any snow in the next 10 days or so. And if they don't open in the next 10 days, this will be the latest opening for Meadows in the last 11 years. Reporting from Mount Hood, Spencer Schott, Fox 12 Oregon.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, Seattle-based Amazon expanding a popular service here in the West. Tonight, how this could potentially alter the way that people stock their refrigerators. Plus,
try to snatch a ticket early. 2, try to be flexible.
Soccer fans are finding out an in-person World Cup experience is no bargain. Up next, we'll break down how much people are paying for tickets. Silicon Valley in the spotlight with the announcement of Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Today, the magazine gave that title to the architects of AI. Some of those figures include NVIDIA's Jensen Huang and OpenAI's Sam Altman. Both of their companies are based in the Bay Area. Well, Major League Baseball will shine a light on the West when it goes international next year. The league has decided the San Diego Padres will take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 2026 Mexico City Series. The teams will play 2 games at Alfredo Arp Elu Stadium in April. Tickets to the games go on sale in January. The Mexico City series gives Major League Baseball a chance to grow its binational fan base. And people searching for tickets to upcoming World Cup matches happening here in the West are learning just how expensive it's going to be to experience the international event. Matches are going to be played in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Santa Clara, California. Fox's Max Gordon has a breakdown of what those tickets are going for.
With the World Cup, the sky seems to be the limit for pricing. But as an example, if you want to see the U.S. take on Paraguay here at SoFi Stadium on June 12th, an entry-level ticket as of Thursday morning is going to cost you around $1,400. Here's where the other World Cup games will be played in the U.S. Matches will also be taking place in Canada and Mexico, featuring a total of 104 games across North America. There have already been 2 ticket sales, and FIFA says nearly 2 million tickets have been purchased. But before last week's drawings for matchups, people didn't know which teams would be playing where. Now ticket prices on the resale market are reflecting the popularity of games. As of Thursday morning, TicketData.com shows the cheapest seats available for the World Cup are going for $190 for the June 27th Uzbekistan versus Playoff 1 winner in Atlanta. Unsurprisingly, the most expensive entry-level tickets are currently for the finals at MetLife Stadium outside of New York on July 19th, with prices starting at $8,844. Thursday begins a third drawing for tickets, and in the spring, all remaining tickets will be sold off by FIFA. We talked to a professor at the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business about advice she has to fans looking to buy a ticket.
If you can, try to snatch a ticket early. 2, try to be flexible. So flexibility is key. If you don't really mind, which teams you're gonna watch. The third one is try to buy from official channels. And so if something seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
We went hunting around for some of the priciest World Cup tickets we could find. How about paying around $59,000 for a primo seat at the finals? In Inglewood, California, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
Tonight, Seattle-based Amazon expanding services for some customers here in the West. The company says it's making same-day delivery of fresh foods available in several more cities, including Boise, Idaho, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Fort Collins, Colorado. This puts the company in direct competition with companies like Instacart. Amazon says it's already picking up on trends for fresh food delivery across the country. It put together a map showing popular orders. In the West, the most popular orders are for cold brew coffee, chicken thighs, and probiotic drinks. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And a quick reminder before we go, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering at westcoastwrap.com. And of course, stream our shows for free on your smart TV with the Fox Local app. Have a great night, everyone.